Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. Welcome to this week's Puppet Commentary, a discussion it is far past time that we have as a nation, and that is the topic of federal student loans, their implementation, use, and abuse. Should we, as a supposed first world civilized people, take one of either two equally popular stances on this topic? Should we just allow free market practices to allow people to continue to take on massive life-altering debt in the name of essentially becoming indentured servants to the legalized slave trade? Or should we take an even slightly more balanced, compassionate approach? Viewers, we should be asking the questions of where we want to go and what will the future hold for our great-great-grandchildren in this nation. How will future generations of Americans be capable of financing their increasingly more and more expensive educations in order to just keep up? Worth asking in this conversation is, would the Founding Fathers have approved of a divided States of America largely based upon who can and who cannot achieve a higher education? I don't know about you, but I get the feeling that this nation was originally founded upon equal opportunity for each and every United States citizen to be able to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as is distinctly spelled out in the Declaration of Independence, the founding document for our nation. So as institutions of higher learning continue to pillage and plunder the general population just to pay their exorbitant extortion fees in order to basically be capable of living above the poverty line, is it really in the best interest of our nation to continue to allow people to have to decide whether to pay their electricity bills or to have to pay their student loan installments? Now, viewers, I know fully well the common arguments. I'm also keenly aware of the common Republican response to this issue whenever it is brought up. We cannot afford to fund every U.S. citizen's education, or why on earth should every taxpayer who is not attending a college or university be forced to pay for the higher education of those who are? Now, allow this puppet to expound just a small bit, if you will be so kind, knowing fully well that many watching this video will vehemently disagree. Your tax dollars and mine virtually pay for everything under the sun that your family and mine do not directly partake in. Do they not at the present time? Take a simple glance at the things the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, has exposed in just 2 short months so far. Now, I know, had many tax-paying citizens known about these expenditures, they would have protested. But would they? That, my viewers, is a topic for another video entirely. Please understand what I am saying, folks. This puppet is by no means a bleeding heart progressive liberal. But this puppet is also one who has lived more than a few years on this planet, and during that time span has witnessed some definite injustices that need to be remedied. In this puppet's carefully considered viewpoint, it would be in the best interest of the United States of America to pay for its citizens' college or university degrees, period. Yes, you heard it here. We all know the atrocities that were committed by the Soviet Union and its militaristic dictators during the cruel almost 70 long years of its existence. You want to know one thing they got right, though? Why, that would be the fact that they fully funded university degrees for citizens above average intelligence. What we have in the United States of America is a large pool of untapped potential, and unfortunately we have that in spades, all because of the free market capitalists who have run roughshod over the citizenry for far too long. Am I advocating for socialism, or worse yet, communism here? That would be an adamant no. What this cloth and stuffing prognosticator is advocating for, though, is tapping the full potential of each and every individual who claims United States citizenship to the greater benefit of our nation overall. But puppet, you have severely gone off the crazy train rails on this one. Hold on, people. Hear me out. You see, my friends and compadres, no nation on this planet has free and unfettered capitalism with completely free markets. Not a single one. Each and every one has a sprinkle of what some call socialist programs or doctrines within its laws and regulations, like it or not, and those are hopefully carefully thought out before implemented. That, my friends, is what I am hoping we can have here, an open discourse on this topic, and much needed one at that. I'm guessing everyone watching this video never thought they would see a MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter who also backs free higher education for all. Well, folks, now you have. That said, allow this puppet to address a key point of the Trump platform. You see, President Donald J. Trump is set on restoring America as sovereign and not beholden to the United Nations, NATO, One World Order, or World Health Organization, as was the case under one felon Joe who stole power in 2020. As such, you see Trump imposing tariffs on nations who unfairly penalized U.S. goods and services for decades, all while we said, yes, a massa to them, and allowed them to openly sell their goods and services here, all while charging tariffs there for American goods and services sold in their respective nations. Does anything seem wrong about that equation? Hell yes. And thankfully, Trump is finally somebody with the balls and want to end it, unlike decades of virtually worthless U.S. presidential predecessors. Now, with that in mind, how can we honestly talk about restoring America and its people to manufacturing and engineering dominance if we do not tap the intelligence and abilities of so many of its purposely underprivileged citizens? You want to know why I unapologetically say purposely underprivileged? Why, my viewers, that is because so many in our nation are purposely held down by a ruling oligarchy with much to gain by holding them down. Yep, I went there. You want to know what gave Germany its power during the 1930s and 1940s? The fact that Adolf Hitler saw the wisdom in utilizing the knowledge and ability of every single German citizen, regardless of their economic class, albeit with severe disdain for all people of Jewish lineage, but I think you get my point here. You want to know how the Soviet Union was able to establish itself as a nuclear superpower, all while holding to a severely flawed communist system of government? Well, that would be because they gave free university education to each and every Soviet citizen of above average intelligence. They saw the wisdom in an educated population. You know why so many Indian people are now overwhelmingly the majority in computer programming jobs, structural engineering positions, and even CEO roles with leading corporations within the United States of America? Well, folks, that would be largely attributable to the Indian government's emphasis on education, mathematics, sciences, and particularly their efforts to freely fund the university educations of its citizens at highly esteemed foreign universities. You want to return U.S. to dominance in the fields currently occupied by these? Then it is far past time for the U.S. government to see the wisdom in offering free higher education to each and every one of its citizens. Can we afford it? Well, folks, we just got done handing billions of American dollars to Vladimir Zelensky and funding transgender operas in Colombia. Just stop with the abuse of our tax dollars and put it to good use for once. Think about the military equipment that Felon Joe freely gave to the Taliban when he seriously fumbled the U.S. military exit from Afghanistan. Now tell me why every U.S. citizen who wants a college or university degree cannot have one paid for without the need to take on a massive back-breaking load of debt. Finally, viewers, I must mention something that many considering the topic of student loan debt relief may or may not have thought about as it pertains to the subject. Allow me to discuss a friend I know who worked many years in a management-level career field, and then Bill Clinton and George Bush decided that it was perfectly fine to push for Communist China to become a permanent member of the World Trade Organization, or WTO. The resultant effect was the very quick shuttering of so many American companies as the investment bankers saw nothing but dollar signs in selling out to the communists. Then, as you and I both know, it became necessary for those who had just lost their jobs to look for other means of earning a livable income. Often nothing equivalent to their current career field was available, or the opportunities were severely limited as the game of musical chairs came to its inevitable end and only one chair was left to find a seat on. What happened next? Well, more than a few made the very necessary decision to go back to college to earn either a higher degree or to simply earn a degree in a field where all the jobs had not been sent overseas. So what did my friend and others like her decide to do? Well, she made the decision to return to college, and that made the taking on of an overly burdensome student loan debt at a point in her life where most people are just getting settled in and saving for their retirement years. So, friends and colleagues, do you see the same problem that this puppet sees here? The United States federal and state governments made purposeful decisions to put interest of banks and corporations and even enemy states in front of the best interests of its own citizens. Those citizens then found themselves in positions of often extreme financial hardship due to this, and then took on massive student loan debt as a direct result. That, viewers, is why this puppet stands 200% behind the U.S. government in enacting complete student loan debt relief immediately. Quite frankly, it is the right, honest, and decent thing to do after decades of forcing U.S. citizens into often necessary but difficult positions of great financial debt. I'm quite certain this video will bring on the wrath of some who are still bent that their tax dollars could go to pay for doctorate degrees of a banker or lawyer. My response to those? Get over it. You currently pay tax dollars to myriad causes that you disagree with, but do so all the same in the name of the greater national interest. Good night, my loyal viewers, and sleep well.